evening. Good morning. I'm joining from US. I'm here. So trying to attend this NFPS show, and we have my friends joining from Dubai, and there are a few participants from Latin America, North America. Quite surprising to see that even most of our webinars are attended by globally now. This is our 338th webinar since last 2 years we've been doing. And our webinar not only restricted to India, it's going global. We have friends from Singapore joining today, and more important is we have almost 650 participants for the program, and we've been doing various webinar related to fire protection, electrical safety, and tomorrow we are doing another very interesting webinar on why fire in hospital. We're supposed to say hospital don't burn, and we are doing that. We have almost 900 registrations so far. So we've been doing every Friday, Saturday throughout since last 2 years, we've been doing many webinars. And I'm so happy that we have touched over 19,000 plus people across region through this webinar. And we have been successfully conducting these webinars. Thank you for all those who have been regular. Most of them are regular to our webinars. And once again, welcome you all. And good evening to all my friends in India. And today we have very important topic that we are speaking. And let me introduce those who don't know me. My name is Dominic. This profile is self-explanatory. Being founded Fire and Security Association of India in 2002. From there on, we have opened many more association related to critical utility services of building, because building today has to be smart, resilient, and sustainable. So we have an association which talks about integrating all these services. How do we approach towards sustainable and resilient building through focus? I'm also the one of the founder of National Federation of Electrical Engineer for Safety. So it's doing fantastic. And one of the fastest growing society, over 1,800 members in less than 1 year. So, and of course, we are another society called Indian Society for Brave Arts. So these are my activity, continues to do knowledge sharing throughout my career. So today's topic, ladies and gentlemen, it's all about the fire door standards and codes, testing, inspection, and certification. So I'm delighted to see such diverse and engaged audience here. We have people who are writing codes in India. We have people from NBC. We have people from BIS today attending, and more importantly, a lot of many fire chiefs of different states are joining. I don't know, like to name, but they are here today. They have shown a lot of interest in this subject. I welcome all the fire officers from different states here, and all the fire door manufacturers who are also joined, and my friends from the industry. So we all here today on united common interest in enhancing fire safety and protecting lives and property. As we know, fire door is a critical component of any building in protection strategy. They are designed not only to prevent the spread of fire and smoke, but also provide fire safe from the evacuation for occupants. However, the effectiveness of fire door depends heavily on rigorous adherence to standards and codes. We have seen, everybody's seen fire door. It is very clearly mentioned in National Building Code, and as per all the state fire acts, fire door is necessary. But how do you know it is tested and they have done the regular inspection, and the door carry proper certification? So during this session, we will understand these essential aspects, exploring the latest standards and codes that govern the fire door performance, the importance through testing and inspections, and also the critical role of certification in ensuring compliance and safety. So, our aim is to impart the knowledge and tools necessary to implement best practices in your respective field and foster culture of safety and preparedness. So I encourage all the participants to keep your question. Then we have the Q&A box down. So I request everybody to post. The chat box the questions in the chat box will be difficult to record. So I would urge everyone to post your questions in a Q&A box only. And also share your insight as we navigate this important topic. Together, we can work towards creating safer environment for everyone. Thank you for joining. And today, I would like to introduce our knowledge partner is Emirates Safety Labs. So it's one of the largest testing laboratory and certification body based in Dubai with strong expertise in fire protection requirement. As a testing and inspections and certification entity, they cater to diverse range of industry sector and variety of standards and regulations. Therefore, they play a critical role in all economic fields related to active and passive fire protection system and facade. ESL Testing Laboratory offer an extensive range of fire testing service for product system assemblies and material applied in many industries such as building, infrastructure, life safety and security, telecommunication, oil and gas, etc. ESL also offer wealth of technical expertise to support you through testing, assessment of the evidence of compliance of your product against the applicable standards and specifications. So that's ESL, our knowledge partner for the day today. So they're going to share their insight, and we have a very eminent speaker. We have Mrinal Sapro, who takes care of the region and is quite regular to India. He interacts with us, and we work together. Mrinal and myself work together to enhance the testing methods in India. So we have speaker Mohammed Norman is a very senior testing and inspection certification professional, and he's been working with ESL for quite some time and specialized in fire door product certification, factory production control audit, product sampling of timber, metal, and glazed fire door, and conducting the field surveys and inspection for projects as per NFPA 80 to ensure doors are installed correctly in compliance with regulations. And more important today is also there are fire doors. Is this applicators or the installer are doing the right job? Is assemblies also is fire resistant? So something that we all like to know from Norman. How do we really install? How do you know it is installed properly? So he supports projects client across Middle East, North Africa, and Indian subcontinents region of our fire safety products. We also have another speaker, Subramaniam Shivalingam. He's a highly skilled resistance to fire testing engineer, brings wealth of knowledge and expertise to his role. So, as a resistance to fire testing engineer, Subramanian plays pivotal role in evaluating the fire resistant various materials, structure, and system. His meticulous approach to testing to various international standards such as BS, IS, EN, ASTM, UL, and Indian standards to ensure that buildings, infrastructure, and products are there to rigorous safety standards, enhancing overall fire safety measure. So, ladies and gentlemen, I now would love to welcome my friend Rinal to say a few words before our speakers comes online. Once again, I want to thank so much. Thank you so much. We have 600 plus participants for this program, and we would like to have more question answer coming in so that our speakers can share their experience and try and meet your expectations of this webinar. Welcome you all once again. I over to Brinal to take over from here. Brinal,
Thank you,
over to
Dominic.
you.
Thank you, Dominic.
Yeah, yeah.
Thanks for the introduction and the kind words. And on behalf of ESL, I want to extend a warm welcome and heartfelt thanks to all of you for joining us today for our webinar on codes and testing standards for fire doors. I would like to extend a special thanks to the fire chiefs who have joined, and also with the dignitaries from National Building Codes. It really means a lot. Your presence here, all your presence here, underscores your commitment to prioritizing safety and staying, informed about the crucial developments in fire safety protocols. So we are truly grateful for your participation and look forward to a fruitful and engaging discussions. My colleagues here will make sure that they impart whatever little knowledge we have regarding the certifications and testing of fire doors, and how what are the applicable standards world over and in the region, including India. And we look forward to a very interactive session. And if any one of you have any questions pertaining to the codes, pertaining to the standards, how they or anything pertaining to the topic, we would definitely take them on. Please put them on in the Q&A box, and or raise your hand at the time towards the end, and we would make every effort to answer them properly. Thank you all for being here. I will not take much of the time. I'm being mindful here for the timing. So let's delve into this important topic together. I hand over the session to my colleague Mohammed Noman, who will start from certifications. Noman, over to you.
Hello, everyone. I hope you can hear my voice. I hope it's audible.
Yeah, clear, Norman.
Yeah.
Very audible. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining for today's webinar. My name is Mohammed Noman. I'm the Senior Certification Specialist. Along with me today, my colleague, Mr. Subramaniam, our fire testing engineer. He have joined along with me to talk about fire doors, and we'll be discussing in details about what standard and code says. Okay, and I would like to thank Dominic for the insightful introduction, and also I would like to thank for all the participants who are here. So without wasting much of the time, I'll start with the presentation. So the content of today's webinar, you can see there are a lot of aspect which we are going to discuss. Initially, we'll be discussing some of the basics of fire doors, and then we will move into the technical discussion about standards and what exactly the standard codes and other regulatory requirements are there. So we'll be discussing in detail about those aspects. So if you can see, there are like overall a lot of topics to discuss. So will be I don't like to list it what all we are going to discuss today, but you can just have a look at it here. So what is fire doors? So to begin with, let's have an introduction. The prime purpose of fire door is to save lives and stop the progress of fire, as we all know. The fire door has got two main function in a building: contain fire within a compartmentation, and to make sure that it provides a safe means of escape. Fire doors are actually a very critical element of passive fire protection system that compartmentalize a structure to restrict the growth and escalation of fire. So the main purpose of fire door is to make sure that it withstand during the fire and make as minimize. I mean, it's the main purpose is to minimize the risk of property damage, and to make sure that the occupants are safe and they evacuate safely. In most of the fire condition, I've seen it, the people, I mean, the most of them who die during the fire incident, they don't die with fire. It's basically the smoke. So smoke is the main culprit of all this. So with fire assistance tests, with an implementation of having a passive fire system, it can be controlled and smoke can be compartmentalized. We'll be discussing that in detail in the coming slides. So one of the myths which I usually see online these days is that many of the manufacturers and so many of the people who know about a little bit of fire doors, they start saying that their doors are fireproof doors. Okay, so there is nothing as such called a fireproof door, because if it's a fireproof door, it means that it can withstand fire for n number of hours. Okay, that's not the case. So fire doors are call it as a fire rated door. It comes with a rating. So when it comes with a rating, it means it can withstand fire for a specific duration, such as 30 minutes, 60, 90, 120, and it goes so on and so forth. So fire doors are actually having a fire resistance characteristics. That's why it's provided in it is denoted in fire rating. So fire doors are tested, classified, and certified. So tragic incident which happened in India last week. It's a wake-up call for authorities to revise the safety regulations. I started reading more on this, and I could feel that these kind of incidences can be mitigated. And it's not just because of we are talking about fire doors today. I could see that a proper way of managing the pacifier system products, or implementing the pacifier product in the projects, could really mitigate and make sure that the fire will not propagate from one zone to the another. It's possible. And it was really heartbreaking to see that there was like almost 7 newborn that got those are passed away. And it was really hard to get that, because I know what exactly the families are going through and all of that. So I hope things gets better, and through this webinar we can share more and more awareness about fire doors and all the other pacifier products that can really help mitigate fire. So it's basically it's not only about pacifier; it's also about active systems. Both together can come and build the best system for a building. So one of the thing which I saw in a news channel, that there were like about 800 factory fires happened in the last 2 years only in Delhi alone, and it's alarming. And this is the right time where we need to come up with a proper set of regulations, and also help people know how we can mitigate this kind of situation. So moving on, let's talk about the importance of fire door. History has shown us the importance of operational fire doors and egress door. You could see the image on the right side, which clearly states that the fire was completely burnt off the entire warehouse. And if you could see the other side of the building, which was completely intact, it's all because of the fire door that have saved us some of the area of the project, or some of the area of the building. It happened in 1996, and this is something I thought would share with the people, so that they will know how important it is to have a fire door specified in your projects. Some other examples. Here is another example where the properly closed fire doors prevented fire damage to the entire section of the building. And if you could see on the other side of the building, where the fire was completely burnt off the half of the building area, but other side it was completely intact, it's all due to the proper compartmentation and also proper installation of fire doors and all the other pacifier products elements installed in the building. So another set of example is a fire door which protected the Robert Moses Nature Center during a fire that started in a workshop. So if you could see this image, it's clearly explained that if you could have seen some of the fire tests happening in the lab, it depicts similar situation where one side it's completely intact, whereas the other side was completely burnt off. And this really shows that how important it is a fire door to be specified, where a proper installed fire door as well as a proper specified tested system can really work and save a lot of issues, especially mitigating the fire from one location to the other. So let's discuss on fire compartmentation, why it's important. Fire compartmentation divides a building into smaller smaller subsections using a fire-resistant construction materials. The main purpose of fire compartmentation is it's to slow down and contain the spread of fire and smoke. Fire compartmentation is also a form of passive fire protection, meaning it functions without the needs of people and mission. So if you could see an example of a picture which explain very well about a fire in the kitchen, okay, which was contained due to a lot of element of passive fire product, such as a tested and certified system of fire rated wall, And similarly, if you could see a tested and certified fire rated air transfer grill, which is doing its job. And similarly, a fire rated door, which is also a tested and certified system, including all these elements are properly installed, inspected, maintained. And that's the reason why this compartmentation can contain fire for n number of hours until the emergency evacuator comes in and control the fire to minimize the risk of damage. So, and also if you could see, there is a penetration seal which is already fixed on one of the firewall, which also protected the fire, which means a proper fire stopping element were installed, that also tested and certified system. So with these kind of compartmentation, really we can mitigate fire, and it helps contain fire, due to which we can save a lot of assets of the building. So another example of fire compartmentation is just to show you how the containment, how the fires are contained. And this is one of the image from a hotel layout, which is a first floor. If you could see, there was a fire broke off in a building, which is a room number 101, and it was completely contained, due to which people can see, safely evacuate the building. And what if there is a compartmentation fail? And if there is a compartmentation fail, there will be many reasons. For example, if you could see in the screen, the fire broke out and it reaches to a different compartments, and then a catastrophe happens. And it all happens due to untested system assemblies and materials, and also poor installation of all the pacifier products, including a poor maintenance of the pacifier elements. And also one of the main reason it could be is the fire doors are not latched properly or installed properly, or might be this particular door is not a fire rated door. So there could be many reasons why the fire compartmentation fails. So moving on to a next topic, which is regulatory requirements. I like to touch base on UAE Fire and Life Safety Code of Practice, which is one of the stringent building code which I have come across in the region. And I'll be sharing also about other building code in my next slides. I'd like to quickly touch base on the requirements of fire doors in UAE Fire and Life Safety Code. And it's this reference were taken from a chapter 3. If you could see the point number 6.2.1, testing and the acceptance. So doors and opening protective shall be tested as a door assembly by civil defense approved laboratories and are certified by civil defense approved certification bodies. So it means that the door which will be kept on a project, it should be kept as a complete door assembly, not as an individual component, and it has to be supplied and installed, as well as this door should be certified by the list of approved laboratories which are approved by civil defense of UAE. So and also it has clearly highlighted the acceptable test standards, and that you can see on the right, 7.1.3, where you have all the list of fire door standards which are applicable in UAE. So since the market is a code neutral market, where all the standards such as BSE and American standard all are acceptable. Okay, so moving on to the point 6.2.2, it's a very interesting to read out these 2 points. Individual hardware such as locks, hinges, vision panel, etc., or the door core materials, panels, etc., shall not be registered by civil defense. Only the final end product, the door assembly as intended, shall be registered by civil defense. All door and opening protective manufacturers shall be registered with civil defense. No door assembly shall be sold or distributed in UAE without civil defense certification. So that means those who get approval, those who have their product tested, certified, and registered with civil defense can supply their products in UAE. Okay. So another highlight which I like to talk about on on UAE Fire and Life Safety Code. The best part of the code is that it has given a very precise information on the fire door requirement. If you could see, as per the location wise, they have said what type of door needs to be installed. For example, exit stair, it says 90 minutes rating is must, and the door should have a smoke proof smoke sealant, as well as the door should be self closing, and also it has to latch. Okay, so similarly, if you could see all the other like exit passageways, they have mentioned 90 minutes fire rated door. It should be also self latch, and also sorry, it's self close, and also it should have a latch. So all the type of if you could see the different areas of the building, they have clearly mentioned what type of rating it's required. With these detail, you will get to know like 60 minutes and 90 minutes is what usually preferred in UAE. Okay, and all the door should be tested, certified in a listed approved laboratory. And the best part of the UAE Fire and Life Safety Code, it's also highlight the kind of door dimension that is that has to be used on the project. Like for example, here the door dimensions are mentioned. These are the minimum door dimension. So having such detailed information in a regulatory requirements, it really helps manufacturer to understand and also to know what are the ways to access the market. And it's also beneficial for them to well prepared in advance how to reach how to get into the a market, as well as they will also get to know how stringent the requirements are in different region. So similarly, I'll go back to a National Building Code of India, and I was really surprised knowing about they also follow a very similar approach what UAE Fire and Life Safety Code have highlighted. Here in the chapter 4 of National Building Code, Fire and Life Safety, if you could see, they have divided into two. Actually, one is for a separate requirements for the high-rise building, and then there will be another section which have been made it in a group. Let's say group A to J, they have highlighted, for example, residential buildings, educational buildings, institutional buildings. So they have put an based on the occupancy, they have created a list that what type of door needs to be installed on the project. So I've gone through this section of the code and then highlighted some of the critical points which I like to highlight here today. Fire doors in exit shall have a fire rating as required in this part of the standard to meet requirement of integrity and instability, as well as the insulation criteria shall be minimum 20 minutes. Okay, and exit doors shall have an intumescent seal, which means that the door should be a wooden door on exit. And also I have seen in some of the chapter where they clearly mention the exit door has to be 120 minutes fire rating. So moving on, I've just highlighted what all the important parameters that are highlighted in National Building Code of India. And it was very interesting to know that right from the 20 minutes fire rating to the 120 along with 180 minutes are approved. Which means the element of fire doors that needs to be supplied for any building projects in India should have a minimum rating of 30 minutes to 180 minutes. Okay, so as you all know, fire doors, especially wooden door, steel door, glazed door, they all have their own purposes and to be used in a project. So if you could see in some areas, it has clearly mentioned, for example, where they are, in an industrial group, they have mentioned the moderate and high hazard areas in industries to have 2 fire doors each have 180 minutes fire resistance rating, which means only steel door can be applicable for 180 minutes because wooden can last more than 120 minutes. So similarly, in each areas, they have mentioned the type of rating required. Like for example, in firefighting pump house, they have said it will be 120 minutes fire rating. So Moving on, there are certain parameters which they have mentioned in different areas of the building. They have mentioned clearly in some areas that the door has to self latch and self closing, as well as it should latch. So if you can see what I have mentioned about the UAE Fire and Life Safety Code, the similar concept where are also available in National Building Code of India, which means all these standards are very stringent. All these codes are very stringent, and implementation of such code will really help enhance the fire safety system in India. And one of the critical point what I have noted in section 4.2.4.1 in exit doorway, where they have highlighted the kind of height and width of the door to be which will be the minimum size of the door. So this also we have seen in UAE Fire and Life Safety Code. So those are the some of the critical elements which I have noted in a National Building Code of India. And last but not the least, it also mandates that the third-party product certification, if you could see the point number F, all fire-rated doors and assemblies shall be provided with certificate and labels prominently indicating the manufacturer's identification, door details, door type, and a serial number. Of course, every labels will have a serial number, a unique serial number, and also who manufactured the door and what type of fire resistance rating it has obtained. So all this has to be, I mean, if you could see, only when the door manufacturer will have their product tested, certified, uh, are the only manufacturers can have an option to obtain the labels from the certification body. So it means that all the fire doors that are installed in India should be tested, certified, and also all the labels shall be procured from a third-party certification body. So there is a very stringent requirements are written in National Building Code, which can really help if these building codes are well implemented across India. So to conclude on the regulatory requirements, it's very, very important that all the stakeholders should be aware of meeting the regulatory requirements, because what happens is that many a times, there are not qualified persons working in the consultancy or contractors or manufacturers, or maybe during or the installers or inspectors are not qualified enough to understand what exactly the regulatory requirements of the country. So it's important that every stakeholder should be aware of it and should implement a stringent system where each and everything should be escalated to the top management. Like, for example, if you are a building product inspector and if you find a deficiency on the fire rated door, your duty is to reach out to your management and inform that these are the discrepancies which are recorded. Though there will be a pressure from a project that it is going to start within next 15 days or 20 days, it doesn't matter. All it matter is that you need to escalate such situation and inform to the respectable authorities to make sure that the action is taken. That's when the system, that's when the things will get improved. Anything which are not put in papers will get into a lot of issues. So that's why anything what you note, like even as a responsible person, for example, if you can see any fire doors that were not installed correctly in your building, you can report to your authorities or you can report it to your facility management company, and just be behind them until they solve the issues. So that's how you can improve the fire safety system, and that's how people will understand what is required in order to make sure that things are implemented accordingly. Moving forward, as per my experience with regards to regulatory requirements, of course, most of the code across India, across the world, have got a very stringent systems. But having specific information on the code will really help, such as having a door type specification. Like, for example, what type of door is required on which location, like example, wooden door, steel door, or glazed door. That will help understand, that will help manufacturer to ensure that, okay, on so and so location, this is what the door required. So let's plan a test and get the product certified before we enter the market, before we open up an office in that country. So, and having a simple explanatory will really help the readers across the world to understand how to access India market, how to access UAE market, how to access different markets. So I always expect the regulatory requirements should be written in a basic language so that everybody will understand, and also having specific information will really help. For example, the second point I've written here, compliance with fire testing standards. There are several standards across the world which are widely renowned, which is BS 476 Part 22, EN, IS 17518 Indian standard, which are equivalent to ISO 3008-1 standard, UL 10B, 10C, which are an American standard. So if the code clearly states that the kind of standards there are acceptable within the region, that will also really help. And also having information about a minimum door dimension in a specific location, that we have, as what we have seen in the National Building Code of India as well as UAE. Those are the details will really help the manufacturer. And also type of hardware that are mandatory. This helps that hardware companies to develop a hardware that can resist fire for 180 minutes, 240 minutes based on the code requirements. So moving on, let's talk about why fire door needs maintenance. And I think it's a self-explanatory, the pictures which are on the screen. If you could see, these are the major problems what we see on the sites, especially on the doors which were not maintained or not inspected every year or every 6 months or every regular intervals. If you could see a picture on the left, where, as you all know, that if you want the fire doors to perform better, it has to be kept closed. Okay, and here you can see the door was wedged, and also there was a complete intumescent seal on the bottom of the door was completely removed. So even though if this door is not wedged, and even if it is it's already latched, still this door will not perform more than 10-15 minutes to the desired rating what it was tested to. And the main reason could be because of poor maintenance. So if I'm a door inspector, and if I'll be verifying this door, I'll do a red flag on this, and I'll make sure that this door is done it in such a way that it passed the inspection. And that's when we can say that this door is safe at the time of fire. So most of, I could see there are some of the companies who do a lot of knowledge sharing on LinkedIn and other places. And there's a company which is Fire Door Safety Week, which is a UK based company. They have done their own research, and they have said that 73% confirmed the biggest problem was that many did not have intumescent seal. And in my experience, I have seen many a times door manufacturers that they try to miss the intumescent seal on the top of the door, where it's hard for the inspector to go and check. So it's possible, if an inspector is qualified enough, he can just put hands and check whether there is a intumescent seal or not. But the inspector should have a listing documents with him before he goes to inspection, so that he knows well in advance that where all the intumescent seals are installed. So there are various ways where manufacturer will try to play in terms of missing a critical component in order to cut down the cost. And that's how the fire doors safety is always goes in a wrong way. This picture, if you could see a door closer picture, this I have taken 3 months back in one of the mall here in UAE, and I feel really bad that the doors closer was not installed properly. That this clearly shows that the door installer was not qualified enough, or not having a knowledge of how to install the door closer. Okay, whereas the code really clearly states that the installation shall be done by a civil defense approved installer as per the door manufacturer's installation instruction. So it's important that the door has to be installed correctly. In case if the door is damaged, like for example in this case, then it's important that the installer should inform the manufacturer to replace this door and provide another door if they're all serious about fire safety system. So it's a brand new building with just 3 months old, so this can be done. And in many cases what happens is that we are always meeting a deadline, and inspection was kept in such a way that it's okay, it's fine, chalta hai kind of stuff. So it's not necessary. It's very, very important that each and every deficiency should be noted and should be escalated to the higher level. And another very interesting information which I found from educate-doit.com, it's also a company who does a lot of survey on fire doors. They did a survey and they found the top 10 deficiencies on fire doors. And this top 10 deficiencies they have recorded after inspecting 250,000 fire doors in North America and in Middle East. So what top 10 deficiencies they have found is the fasteners which are installed on the vision panel, hinges and all of that are not intact, or sometimes the screws are missing. Sometimes there was no gasket on the door. Sometimes there was no, the door closer is not installed properly. And in some areas they have seen that the labels are removed. So they have found a lot of deficiencies, and they have highlighted this after inspecting fire doors, which means the fire doors which were manufactured by a third party certified company who have supplied this to project, and then these other deficiencies are noted. So there is no point of then installing a fire door in such location, because the doors will not withstand fire. So it's very important that authorities needs to understand that only if you buy a fire rated door, it becomes a fireproof. It's never going to bring like that. So inspection of fire doors is very, very important, especially on passive fire products, which it's required a proper installation, and it requires a proper maintenance, and it requires a periodic inspection from a third party who will make sure that everything is done in line with any specific standards. There are so many various standards are there. One is NFPA 80, which is very detailed standard on how to install the fire doors. So knowing these standards and implementing and making sure that this standard will really help for the country will really boost the importance of fire door in the industry. So moving on to my last slide, and I'll be continuing after a while once my colleague, Mr. Subramaniam, will take it further from here. Before that, I'll just like to highlight few aspects of fire testing standards for fire doors. So there are, as I said, there are so many standards which are widely known, globally renowned, and there are some standards which are widely recognized for so many years. So some of the standards such as BS 476 Part 22, it's a British standard, and then there is a European standard which is EN 1634-1 for fire doors, and then there is an Indian standard which is IS 16947, and then another Indian standard which also talks about the general requirements, which is IS 17518-1, which is also equivalent to ISO 300-1. sorry, 3008-1. My colleague Subramaniam will have a detailed discussion on this in few minutes. And also there are other standards like UL 10C, 10B, and NFPA 252. So these are some of the renowned standard in the market. If you could see BS 476 Part 22, it was last revised in 1987. After that, there was a small amendment happened back in 2014, where some informations were added to the annex, and also it highlighted that this standard is superseded to BSEN 1634-1. So which means there won't be any revision to this standard BS 476 Part 22 in upcoming future. So all my clients, especially those who ask my suggestion that which standard they need to go for fire testing, I always tell them that they can refer to all the list of standards that are mentioned in the code. But I always talk to them about BS 476 Part 22, that it's better always to prefer EN 1634-1 than going forward with BS 476 Part 22. One of the main reason is, of course, there won't be any revision to this standard anymore. And moreover, there are so many countries across the world who are thinking of removing this standard from their core as well, just because of that this standard is already superseded. So if you could see, there are only EN standard as well as the American standard that will be widely then recognized in the region. So there are a lot of differences between American standard and European standards, but both are for the similar purpose. Both are very stringent standards. I'll just quickly explain a few of the important stuff which I have noted and which can help our readers to understand. The large difference between these two standards is that EN requires testing from both direction, whereas American standard, which is a UL 10B 10C, says only one side is enough. And when you talk about the permitted wall type, okay, EN standard states three different type of wall. My colleague Subramaniam will have a detailed discussion on this in few minutes. I'll just like to touch base on that part. EN standard, as I said, there are three different type of walls, whereas UL does not differ at all in their standards. And when it comes to a surface temperature permitted in the standard, UL standard measures the first 30 minutes only, whereas the EN standard measures it for the whole duration of the test. And when it comes to sustained flaming allowance during the fire test, of course, EN standard says no flaming at all allowed, which means the sustained flame is it's like 10 seconds of flame on the unexposed side, which EN says that there is no allowance in the standard as per EN 1634-1, whereas UL standard it's allowed for a small duration. That also we will discuss detail in the coming slides. Another major difference is the treatment of exchangeability of parts such as lock, hinges, frames, types, etc. There are other two factors which will be a main difference between these two standards is UL standard does have a host stream test, whereas UN standard doesn't have any host stream test. And last but not the least, about the increase of door dimension. For example, if you could see an image over here, the door was tested to one specific size. And if the door withstand more than a specific rating, that door, it's called it as a category B door. For example, if the door withstand for 60 minutes and then passed on to another extra 8 minutes, it comes under an overrun, due to which the client or the door manufacturer can get an option that they can increase the width of or height of the door to 15%, and also can get an area of 20% increase. So similarly, when you talk about the standards, every standard has got its own benefits. So similarly, with EN standard, these options are available, whereas when it comes to American standard, the door what you tested is what the final size of the door assembly. So now I ask my colleague, Mr. Subramaniam, to handle the further part of the webinar. Subra, the floor is yours, and I'll unshare my screen. Just looking, stop sharing. Okay.
While Norman, there are a few questions with common question that you can attend on the Q&A box and respond while Subramaniam is presenting. You can unshare and welcome Subramaniam. We can take over from here.
Yes. Yeah, I'll just share my screen. Can you stop sharing?
Yeah.
It's the same screen that you have shared. Norman can unshare and probably, is it the same slides that you're going to continue?
Subra, you're on mute.
Yeah. So good evening, everyone. It's okay. So am I audible to everyone?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. So myself, Subramaniam Shivalingam. I'm working as an assistant to fire testing engineer, and from this point, like, we will delve deep about like various like testing methods that are involved for a fire door. So in this session, we will be further like seeing like what are the various testing standards, and then what are the conditions your fire doors are involved, then the various performance criteria, like how the doors are assessed, then how the doors are classified, and it has been like brought into the market. So if you see in my screen that there are various fire testing standard, like as Mr. Norman has informed, like which is BS, which is British standard, and EN standard, and there is like two Indian standard, which is IS 16947 and this IS 17518-1, and there are some American standards such as UL 10C, 10B, and this NFP 252. So from this slide, what I'm trying to convey is that even even if some of the codes are described in the and the building code or is of that region, so it is more important to check if that door type is possible to be tested under each standard or not. So this is the most important thing. If the door cannot be assessed based on that standard, then we cannot like know from the point of testing how that door needs to be assessed or how it needs to be evaluated. Then further, if you see like moving to the next slide, we will like keep seeing like what are the various s- like parameters what each standard is getting involved. If you could see here, we have like several like type of doors which has been like shown in the pictures. If you could see the basic or the general type of doors, it's like timber door leaf with a timber door frame, which is on the first picture, and there is on the same variant there is one more like type like timber door leaf with the steel door frame, where only the door frame is like made of steel and the door leaf is made of like timber. So these are the basic versions how you see the wooden doors. So whereas in the steel door and under this glazed door, there are like lot of interpretation that they just take into account that steel door and this glazed door are same. So from this session, what I wanted to convey was that like both of them are different. If you could see that picture number 2 and picture number 3, they are not the same. They have different arrangement and they have different construction, and their performance and their requirements are totally different. So in this case, so let us see what a steel door is really like meaning. So it is a door set or maybe an openable window, like with a leaf constructed using a steel facing sheet. It is not made of glass. It is made of only like having steel facing sheets, for which the hinge or the pivoted or attached directly to the steel leaf, which is very clear, and which is having sometimes it has some kind of an like a glazing like vision panel, and in some cases it is a fully flushed steel door. So this is one case. Like whereas you have a glazed door which is called glazed. Why? Because it is fully having like glass as the major part of the door with a metal framing. Maybe the metal could be aluminum or steel or whatever. Maybe it has like different type of metal framings, but the door is a glazed door. Whatever the metal it gets involved, it is a glazed door. So in this glazed door, the definition is very clear. It is a door set or an openable window with leaf constructed from a proprietary steel or aluminum using profiles like designed to incorporate glass or panels where the hinges are pivoted attached directly to the metal profile. So in this there is a steel to steel contact in the like at the case of hinges or this pivots, and the glass is the one like covering the whole door leaf. And so now it will be like very clear that there is no interpretation between steel door and a glazed door. Like further seeing that, as you see like three different types of doors the pictures it illustrates, we need to be sure that different door sets require different approaches when selecting the most representative sample for testing. That means each and every door has its own criteria how it should be assessed, so they are not the same, and they are not like giving the same fire rating or same integrity or same insulation criteria. So each and every door should be assessed as per the type of the door. And further moving to the next slide, here you see a construction of an wooden door assembly, like a fire rated wooden door assembly. As you see in the picture, it is just a frame and this door leaf, so which is forming a door. But in general, it looks like a very simple door, whereas a fire door is really a crucial engineering component which involves lot of engineering like components as part of the door to achieve the fire rating. So in this session like you have like each and every component which plays a very crucial role to give an output as a fire door, which includes some of them like hardware type and the size of the intermission, type of timber being used for the door frame and this door leaf, and the fire core, and some of this like additional edge requirements like lipping and like some kind of seals. So there are like various various materials being involved which will form a fire door. So it is not a very simple door. And if you could see at the bottom of the slide where you have different fire door configurations, which involves a door which is a flush door on the first, then having vision panel with various arrangement of the vision panel as per the requirement of the code requirement, and you have this emergency exit doors, push door, and everything. You have a like different types of door. Even in some cases, you have seen some doors are not having a like same size of the leaf, so each and everything will have like different behavior. So they have to be tested before it is being installed in any building. Then only you will get to know what are the outcome of that door, and what is the final fire rating for each and every door, and for each side of the door it is being tested. So in further like moving to the next slide, you can see how a wooden door assembly, and then what are the critical components what are involved for a fire door. So in this, the main part is the fire core. Like most of the time, the fire core is the most important part, and which plays a major role by covering almost whole part of the leaf. And like out of that fire core, you have a door frame and a door leaf, which is having some kind of a cover or some kind of an like a facing sheet, which gives you a final output product. And like going to the next part, which is the hardware, which is playing a very important role to keep the door leaf intact to the door frame, so that you create a proper compartmentation, which involves like door closer, hinges, lock set, handle, and drop seal. The most important hardware which is really like required for a fire door to be properly installed is the lock set and the hinge, which is like most important to keep the door like really in place without any movement or without any change in the gaps between the frame and the door leaf. So they should be properly installed so that it can behave the properties of a fire door. Then you have some additional like parameters or the components of the fire door, like decorative laminates and everything. But basically, these are not really playing a crucial role in a fire. so in a fire. So then you go to the next part, which is the adhesive, which is the glues, which is going to keep the door frames and like all other like facing sheets intact, like without like allowing any form of gap or creating some kind of unnecessary requirements which will cause the fire to pass to the other side. So it should be like very importantly, like they have to be chosen so that your fire door really behaves to the top notch. And the most important thing which is required for sealing the gaps during a fire test or during a real fire scenario is this intermittent seals. And you see some kind of like intermittent steel which are used in the market, and like mostly these intermittent steels like fall in between the door frame and the door seal, and sometimes in the form of like between this glazing and this glazing frame, and there are several areas where this intermittent seals are used just to protect the hardware. Also in some cases they have been used even behind some inches and door closers just to avoid like losing the integrity part of the hardware as well. And like in the bottom of the slide you can see like what are the various like configurations of the wooden door which is being like used in the market, which is like single leaf single swing wooden fire door assembly with or without vision panel. And you have a double leaf then single swing wooden fire door with or without vision panel as per the requirement of the code. This has been like selected or maybe they're designed. And you have a like double leaf like double swing wooden door. There are some conditions in the corridor where the leaf has to be unlatched to keep it open from both the directions. So you have such kind of double doors which is having which is having some requirement to be unlatched. Like an so we have several such conditions where you have different type of wooden doors like being like used in the market, and how these doors are being classified, which we will see further in the upcoming slide. Like usually the doors are classified as per EN, which is an example here is EI30, AI60, which it indirectly means integrity is called as E and the insulation is called as I, which is for 30 minutes. So that means it fulfills the requirement of integrity and insulation for a period of 30 minutes, which is what is is designated in that letters. And some of the Indian codes also refer, they have like their own like designations like FD30, FD60 with 30-minute insulation. So each region and each standard have their own requirement, which is being like labeled to a fire door in usual. So like, moving on to the next slide, we are going to see like what are the like various the construction details of a fire door, and you have a very good look of how like steel doors with steel frame are made of, and like what are the various types as you see in the images below. So basically steel doors having more advantages compared to wooden door because they're really strong enough to withstand the integrity but not the insulation. So each and every door has some advantages and some disadvantages which needs to be like selected based on the code requirement and the place where it is being installed. And like moving on further, we will see in depth detail about how a steel door assembly is made of. And uh, and the major critical components for a steel door, if you could see on the right side of the slide, you have a door leaf construction diagram which disintegrates various parts of a fire like a steel door, or like which is like steel like door skin. There is a channel at the bottom, then there is a like a lock rail where it is like where you have the hinge fixing, and there are some restraints which deposits in the picture, and there are some kind of insulation which is being used inside the door leaf, as well as some of them are as well as used in the door frame. So under this part you have a steel sheet which is playing the major component of a fire door, which may be HGI, stainless steel, etc. of such kinds. Then you have insulation materials like of various type, and sometimes it is being used without any insulation as well. And you have some adhesives which is used to fill the insulation and to keep the insulation intact along with the door leaf, and hardwares which plays a major role as I told you previously, which is like helping to keep the door in place. And you have some stiffness just to avoid any kind of deformation in a fire door, and there are various reinforcement and channels being involved to form a door as a complete door. And you have various like widely used configurations at the bottom, like single skin, like singles single swing steel fire door assembly with a rock fill insulation, and then without a rock fill insulation also there are cases, and having like it is only one type, which is like what is being used as an insulation, and there are various types of insulation that can be used as part of a steel door. And we're just trying to depreciate what is being like most commonly used in the market, and they have some kind of vision panel requirement, and there are some without a vision panel, and there are like cases where you don't need to have the door insulation, only integrity is required. In that cases there are various places this metal, like hollow metal door, gets involved. And like similarly you have like each and every like fire rating for a steel door, and as an example you can see at the bottom, which is called like EW, which is from EN 1634-1 standard, which is talking about E is the integrity and this W is the radiation. That is the heat which is being like released from the surface of the door is being measured, and it is assessed, and it has achieved a rating of EW 60, which is for 60 minutes. And like moving on to the next slide, where you have glazed door assemblies. As you see, there are like a lot of pictures where it involves a door into a curtain wall or a partition, like where you have n number of design and types of glazed doors, which is like most commonly l- like coming up like more in the market nowadays. And you have a fully glazed fire doors offers fire protection like benefits while maintaining light transmission through the building, and like through the building area, like resulting more light, and you have more advantages. So there are people who is really keen to follow such kind of construction in the market, and we see a lot of like door manufacturer, they just like start their like new kind of testings for this kind of constructions. And like moving further, so how a glazed door is made of, like what are the constructions? So mainly the glass, as I told you like earlier, the glass plays a major role as part of a glazed door, because that is the most it covers most of the area. So glass is not a simple glass in this case. When it comes to a fire door, it has to have some kind of engineering requirement where it involves and helps the door to be having to achieve the required rating. So there are different type of glasses like EW, like EI glasses, which is like integrity and insulation, and then integrity and radiation glasses, such that we will see in the next slide in detail like what is the properties of the glass and what are the requirements and what it achieves as a glazed door. As you see, some of the configuration shown here is which is a fully glazed like single leaf door or double leaf door, or fully glazed single leaf door with an over panel or the side panel, which is example of like what you see in that picture on the right, which is having some side panels and over panel as part of the door itself. This is how the door is being tested, because it has to be tested as in practice, so that the whole construction has to be tested for a double door of such construction. and 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 for almost all the fire doors will have similar rating, but the most important thing is that designation, what it involves. So we will see in depth in the like what are the like various standard having their performance requirement to assess such condition, and how a fire test happens in a lab in the next slide. Like moving on, you will see, as I informed you earlier, there are different type of glasses with different engineering requirement, like integrity only glass, which is called as fire protective glass in general in this and American standard, and like whereas in the European market it is called as fire resistant glasses. But end of the day, the property of the glass is just to protect the flames or any heat or smoke to be like no flames or no smokes, as you see the picture on the right side, exactly on right of that topic, which is just protecting the flames to like not to pass through. But end of the day, it is not going to help you. um, like why? Because you have a lot of heat being like radiated from the surface of the glass, and there is a lot of chances that it will not be like suitable to like escape. So which is almost getting of such kind of glasses like out of the market because of such like disadvantages. And like moving to the next part, which is EW, integrity with radiation control glass, which is also called as fire resistant glass. But you need to know what type of glass it is before getting installed in your door set. Like being a manufacturer for a glazed door, like you should know what type of glass are available in the market, and then what to be used like based on the requirement in your code. So this glass is going to like provide you integrity as well as radiation to some extent, and you have some kind of a rating which it can resist up to like 15 kilowatt per meter square, which is the maximum like radiation it can withstand. Then after some like after a period of time, then so it also depends how you need to test them, and then what you achieve, then only you'll get to know is that glass is really sufficient enough to be installed in such kind of doors as a full scale test, like a fire door of glaze type. Then you have the third category, which is fire resistive glazing or fire resistant glazing. They are called in common in the market. Then it is called integrity with insulation. So this kind of glasses are like most commonly used in the fire doors, which gives insulation and insulation and integrity. Indirectly it helps to achieve the radiation rating as well, which is to some extent it also achieves without like emitting a lot of heat from the surface of the glass. So like moving on to the further topic, where you have when you get involved into a testing activity, like what are the various steps that you will go through, so that like what all things to be discussed. So in this slide we are going to see how a testing activity starts and how it ends up with a test report. Then like moving further, then you'll go to the certification to get your door certified. So the first step in this testing part is that like what are the like the main purpose of the test, and like where it is going to be used, and then what all like things need to be like achieved as a fire rating. So the most important thing is that the discussion about the end use application, how it is going to be used. So it is more like useful to start like such like discussions between the manufacturer and the laboratory, and also involving the certification body. So it will be more helpful to achieve a faster outcome, which is the most crucial thing in any testing activity. Then like moving further, you will see the second point as like based on the end use application, the door has to be designed. So for designing a door, that each and every manufacturers of hardware as well as doors, they should know what are the standard requirement, what are the things they can change even after like doing a fire test, like based on some modification required in practice, or maybe in the site conditions and such things. So it is more important that how a fire door is being designed, and is it in compliance with the standard what they're going to test. So this is the most crucial thing as well. This is going to help them in the future for any like such kind of modification which can be done by an approved certificate, like getting like certified from an approved certification body for making any changes further, like based on the design what is being tested. And it's also very important how a door is being designed so that it will achieve the required rating or not. Then moving on to the next slide, then once the door design has been finalized, once everything is being set into a drawing, then you get involved with the approved certification body. Example like ASL testing, there like there it the sample is getting sampled based on some factory audit and some assessment, and how the door is being assembled, formed. So these activities happen in this part of the sampling. Then further you will go for a fire test, which is the fire resistant test, where you get your fire door tested in a approved accredited like laboratory, like ESL testing, from a sample of what is being like chosen, from a representative sample of what is like to be achieved after it is going to be tested and how it is going to be installed. Then further, and these are the basic testing rules which I have explained, so that it makes sure each and every manufacturer that what are the steps being involved and how they need to involve, and like who needs to get involved, so that it is very clear. This is the process of testing. Then further, like moving to the next slide, you see how the test condition for a fire door happens in a fire laboratory, where you have on the left side you see the temperature time graph, which involves how the heating curve happens during a fire test. On the right you have a like simulation which is talking about how a fire test happens. On the left you see the fire part, where it is the furnace, and you have a door in front of the furnace. It closes the whole furnace with some kind of supporting construction with the door being installed. So this picture is trying to simulate what are the pressure condition inside a furnace is working as per each and every standard. Each standard has different requirement. So under this we have an example of if you could see here, the pressure condition as required with the test standard. So there are different parameter required to be known before knowing what is the pressure requirement from the standard, where you involve this neutral pressure plane, which has been indicated in the diagram, which is the plane where you need to maintain a 0 Pascal throughout the test as per each and every standard requirement. But we should know at what height, like at what height this pressure of 0 Pascal need to be maintained. In that case, like whatever is your standard requirement that you need to test, so you need to discuss with the laboratory how it is going to be tested, and then what code is being tested. From that information, we would be able to attain, based on the requirement of the standard, we will able to run a test based on that particular standard. For example, if you've seen the picture, you have seen some kind of height where you see this yellow color, this neutral pressure plane, which deposits, which is where you have to maintain as per this UL 10C test. It is a requirement to have a neutral pressure plane of at 40 inches, which is going to have like 0 Pascal throughout the test. And you have one more example where you see this red dotted line for an EN standard, which is also same for this IS 17518, which is the latest standard for the doors in this Indian market, which also has the same requirement of 500 from the door sill level that needs to be maintained at 0 Pascal. So that in this figure you have like below the neutral pressure plane, you have a negative pressure being maintained, which is allowing the air to be drawn into the furnace at the bottom sill gap. And it is going to form a circulation, because in the top half of this neutral pressure plane you have a positive pressure, which tends to push the air and the door leaf outside, so which is trying to simulate these real-time conditions. And under the heat being starting from 20 degrees, for each and every rating you have some specific temperature it has to gradually attain, which is like from 0 time it starts from 20 degrees or 30 degrees depending upon the ambient condition, then it reaches 60, then 90. So it depends on how long your door needs to be tested. Based on that, you have some defined curve from ISO 834, which you have a look here, and it has been formed based on the equation which is being derived, considering various different conditions in real fire, considering more than the requirement. This curves performs to test your fire door under very stringent conditions. And so this is the replication of a real fire door, whereas each fire door needs to have some kind of requirement at some specified height. It needs to have a 0 pressure. But each and every standard where you have seen in the past, all the standards have a very specific requirement in common, that it should never exceed 20 Pascal at the top of the door, which is just to avoid over pressure at the top of the door, which causes some unnecessary simulation, which is not as per the real condition. So we make sure that we maintain this two conditions within the limit by changing this neutral pressure plane height, in order to maintain 20 Pascal at the top of the specimen. And then moving further, you have the various performance criteria for each and every standard requirement. In this session, in this slide, you will have a look at how this European standard 1634-1, which is the most commonly used in this Middle East market, and you have this Indian standard, which is mainly for glazed doors or doors with glazing. It is called in the other way like doors with glazing, where you have three criteria, which is integrity, which is E, and which is insulation is called as I, as a short form or as a designation. Then you have this radiation. So under integrity, you need to focus that if a door if any of the door which loses integrity, indirectly it loses insulation as well as the radiation, which I try to depict with an arrow. If this integrity is lost, then insulation and this radiation as well as is lost, which you have it here at the bottom of the slide. The insulation versus integrity criteria, this is taken from 1634-1 standard, which is the same as well as for IS 16947. So integrity is the most important thing for a door to keep them intact with the door leaf. So how this integrity is being assessed? So For for integrity to be assessed, there should not be any flaming on the unexposed surface for a time period like greater than 10 seconds. If there is any flaming like greater than 10 seconds, then it is called an integrity failure, which indirectly fails your insulation as well as the radiation requirement. And the second part under integrity is that there should not be any gap being developed in the perimeter or in any part of the door which is more than 25 mm, and for 6 mm requirement the gap should not have to a length of like more than 150 mm. If it is have if we are able to insert the gap gauge through any hole for a distance of more than 150 mm, then it is also considered as an integrity failure. But this 6 mm gap gauge cannot be applied in the sill because there are some like there is a requirement that there will be a minimum gap of 6 mm at the sill. So this criteria is not applicable for the sill for 6 mm, but 25 mm can be applied. If there is a gap of 25 mm at the bottom of the door, then it is also called as an integrity failure. Then you have the cotton pad test, wherein you have some cracks or some kind of like glowing on the surface of a door. Then it is assessed based on that. Then a cotton pad is being applied on the surface where you have a glowing, and if it catches fire or it causes ignition or some kind of glowing, then it is considered also an integrity failure. Then for insulation part, under EN 1634, you have like two criteria, which is called I2 and I1. So the standard procedure or the normal procedure requirement for a fire door to get it insulated is I2, where you have any of this on like any of the TCs which is being installed as per the requirement of the standard, it exceeds like 140 degrees, which is the average temperature. I will in further slide I'll explain like where this average temperatures are placed and how it is being assessed. If there is any kind of like temperature which is like usually for a fire door, it is usually like 5 TCs being installed on the surface of a door to measure the average, and the placement of this average TCs I will explain you in the further slide. If it exceeds like more than 140 degrees plus the initial ambient on or the initial average temperature, then it is called as a failure. For example, the ambient or this initial condition is like 35 degrees. That means if a door will fail in real time, which is like 140 plus 35, if it reaches that temperature, then it is going to fail. And in this maximum temperature is having a limit of anything like more than 180 degrees plus initial average is considered as a failure. But for the door frame part, there are some specific requirement. If it exceeds 360 degree, then it is considered as a failure for the whole like door frame. Then like further moving, there is a supplementary requirement which is having like closer placement to the edge of the door leaf, which is having two criteria, which is 140 then 180 plus the initial average condition like average temperature. And for radiation, as I told you earlier, the standard is having a requirement. If it exceeds 15 kilowatt per meter square, then it is called as a failure for any glaze construction or for any steel construction which having some kind of radiation emitting from the surface. Like then we are moving on to the next standard, which is for doors as well, which is IS 17518-1, which is the Indian standard. And in turn, it has like taken most of like almost all the inputs from this ISO 3008-1, which is a bit different compared to EN. So our purpose is not to compare each and every standard. It is just to give you an idea how the doors are being assessed based on each and every standard. In this also, you have the same criteria for the flames as well as the gaps and the cotton pad. There is no much difference. The only difference what you see compared to that is that the insulation you don't have like two different like kind of criteria. There is only one kind of criteria being used here, which is 140 plus initial average temperature, and then 180 is called as an maximum temperature criteria. And then you have like for, as I told you previously, it is for the door frame. Here also they used the criteria. If it exceeds 360 plus this initial ambient condition, then it is called as a failure for the door frame. And in this radiation part, there is no failure criteria being used in this standard. It is just to measure how much it is really radiating. And there are some special requirements where you have like different kind of discrete areas that needs to be assessed, which you will see in the upcoming slides, where I will in depth I'll explain how this TC arrangement is done and how you need to take care so that you achieve the proper insulation rating. So as I told you, most of the standards in the fire doors, wherever you lose integrity, you lose the insulation as well as radiation, which is the most important thing that you need to understand. So the most important is the integrity which you need to achieve in order to achieve like most of the other part of the fire door requirement. Further, you have the British standard, which is almost is going to go out of the market, which is already superseded, as Mr. Nauman told you. But still, we will delve what are the requirement as per BS as well, which is almost the same as the previous IS 17518. But the only difference is you don't have any specific or special requirement for the door frame to be assessed in this part. So the same story is for BS as well. Then further, like moving to this American standard, now we have come across Indian standard, this European standard, as well as the British standard. Now there is a, so now there is a so now there is a so now there is a lot of requirement as per this UL 10C, which is the most used American standard for fire doors. So now if you look at the criteria for UL 10C, which is having two parts, unlike the other standard like integrity, insulation, radiation. In this, you have like fire endurance test, which is having several criterias, but we were able to add only few because it is having almost like 16 plus criterias which needs to be assessed during a fire endurance test. Indirectly, it is in general it is a fire test where this door is being installed to the furnace, and these criteria need to be assessed like during the fire endurance test, unlike the other standards. So in this part, you have like flames on the unexposed side. In this case, to have for a flame of this American standard is that mainly there is some allowable limit up to what extent it can have a flaming. So there is some kind of length up to some extent it can have a flaming during the first start of the test. After 30 minutes of the test, it is allowed to have some intermittent flaming, like not greater than 152 mm, which is something like different compared to like various other like test standards. And also you have some criteria where it is having an exception at the last 15 minutes, it can have some kind of light flaming, like not greater than 38.1 mm along the both vertical edges of a door. And you have for the top edge of the door, you have a like limit like 72 mm, it should not exceed for the top edge of the door. So these are some special requirement for this American standards for a fire endurance test. And also, and in this standard, the most important thing is that these kind of flames cannot be sustained for more than 10 seconds, which is also most important. Then if it exceeds more than 10 seconds, then it is considered as a failure as well. This is so clear. Then further moving to the cotton pad, you have some special requirement for this standard where you cannot apply the cotton pad when the average temperature of the door exceeds greater than 232 degrees. So only where you have the temperature less than 232 degrees, only it is required to have the like cotton pad can be used. Otherwise it should be ignored or it should not be used further. Then you have some special like requirements wherein you are testing an American standard. Mostly they are testing like steel doors in this standard, and very rarely you get involved like some kind of wooden door made of composite materials. In this case, the most crucial thing for a steel door is that there should not be any gap being developed between the doors or between the door frame and the door leaf, which is having a clear requirement that if it exceeds the gap of more than 12.7 mm at the location of the latch in a single door, is called as a failure criteria under the gap section, which fails like indirectly the fire endurance test. As well as for a double door, you have a criteria of 19.1 mm. It should not exceed the gap between the door frame and the door leaf like more than 19.1 mm, which really they're focusing on is that if the latch is going to be engaged or not, and it should not exceed these criteria, otherwise it causes a failure for the fire endurance test. For example, if a fire endurance test fails, we cannot get that we cannot consider that as a passed test. So in this case, as you see in the bottom of the slide, which shows that that clause 14.2 at the bottom of the slide, which is telling that the test assembly shall withstand the fire endurance test section 11 and the host stream test like section 12 without developing any opening anywhere through the assembly, which is the most important thing. If one of the criteria fails under the fire endurance test, you cannot proceed for your host team test, because both of them needs to be achieved to achieve the required rating for a door. For instance, if you fulfill the criteria of a fire endurance test, then you will move on to a host team test where the specimen will be removed from the furnace, and you need to apply a like certain amount of like pressure of water, or a stream of water over the specimen on the exposed site. So in this case, you will need to be act quickly. As a laboratory, we do a quick action just to remove the specimen from the furnace, and it is being brought to the stage of host stream, where you will take the specimen to a special place where you can apply this stream of water to a set pressure and to a set period of time. So this is being this part is being like given the standard, as you see a table on the right side, which is talking about the water pressure at the base of a play pipe and the duration of application. So this is being calculated based on the total unexposed area of the door which is being tested, and then based on that area you have different like based on your rating. For example, you're testing your door to a period of like 60 minutes, where you have a set pressure of 30 psi for your door for the stream of water that needs to be set. Then you have a calculation value where you need to like multiply with the with the total area of the door being exposed to fire. Then you'll get some amount of seconds. So to that time period, the host stream has to be applied. Then after applying the host stream, you have observation part where you need to assess the door as has it undergone the conditional requirement as per UL10C or not. I've considered only two like assessment how it needs to be analyzed, and there are like several other like things that need to be analyzed so that you can have a door that has passed host stream. So the major part what we come across during like such test is that there should not be any through hole in the assembly except the sill. Like usually you have a sill gap of like 6 to 7 mm, which is in common. So you will just ignore the sill. Other than sill, there should not be any through holes through the assembly, means through the door leaf or door frame or any other creation of a hole during a host stream test. Then in most of the cases, you will sometimes have a door with a vision panel. In that case, they have given some criteria that needs to be assessed for a vision panel as well. They should be kept intact. The glass and the glazing frame needs to be intact with the door leaf, and there should not be any separation. And they have given some kind of exceptions until where it is still acceptable as a reasonable criteria that needs to be assessed during such kind of a high pressure of water being applied on the door. So there are some exceptions which is acceptable, but only to some extent. So once achieving the fire endurance test and host stream test only, you will have some kind of a rating for this kind of American standard, which is UL10C. So if you could see at the bottom of the slide, like there is a clause 13.1 which states that how these doors are being classified based on what time rating. As you see, the report shall follow the performance under the desired exposure period chosen from the following, which is 20 minutes, 30 minutes, or 3 by 4 hours, then 1 hour, 1.5 hour, 3 hours, and 4 hours. So mostly the steel doors are being tested for 3 hours under the standard, or they are tested for like 1.5 hour. So based on this requirement for the client, the test has been exactly stopped at that required rating. Then within a 3 minute period of time, it has been brought out of the furnace and applied such kind of pressure of water to the door leaf. And there is some set of pattern given in the test standard which I have not included. So if it undergoes both this condition, then the door achieves the required rating for a fire door. Next, moving on to the next topic.
Subramaniam, I think
Yeah.
we are running out of time because we have almost 30 questions to answer.
Okay.
Very positive response we are getting. We can probably have a series 2 on the fire door because any webinar less than 1 hour is a good listener. So what a lot of comments are coming that they would like to hear more in detail. So I don't know how many slides more that you have on this.
Maybe another, maybe I think 10, like nothing more than that.
Yeah, maybe
I
because
can
we
make
need
it
to
quicker.
run.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then the second series. So if then we need to attend the question answer. Yeah.
Okay,
Please
sure,
go
sure.
ahead.
I'll
Please go
make
ahead.
it faster. Yeah, yeah. So moving on to the next slide, you see some kind of arrangement how these TCs are being like arranged based on like each and every standard. Where you have like as I mentioned like earlier, you have so you have average TCs which is from which is from 1 to 5, and you have several like maximum criteria and some additional like supplementary procedure how the insulation is being assessed. And if there is any area which is having a criteria of more than 0.1 meter square, then it needs to be assessed separately based on like each and every standard requirement. Further, like moving on to the next slide, you have an like visual aspect how it is installed for a PS store, as well as for this American standard how the insulation is being assessed. Then like moving to the next slide, the most important topic is that how a door needs to be assessed. Then what is the need for a bidirectional test? If you could see on if you could see the image on the right, you have like symmetrical and asymmetrical construction, how it is like illustrated here. So the standard is like more importantly like focusing is that like assemblies like symmetrical or asymmetrical. So based on that, you have a testing requirement that you need to cover both sides or you need to cover only one side. And you have a picture just below that, the part of the symmetrical image where how you need to like assess the door. If it is, then you need to know how uh, a symmetrical door is assessed. If you draw a center line in the plane view of a door, when you see both the sides, it should have the same mirror image. If they are not having the same mirror image, then this door needs to be tested from both sides. If it is fully symmetrical, then it can be tested from one side. This is going to decide the number of test or the number of test like test specimen that needs to be involved. And you have a like very clear like overview like what is fully symmetrical condition and how it needs to be assessed. It is being explained in the figure as well as in the text. And you have like why is like bidirectional test required for a fire door? Because in most fire door condition, they need to play the separating element from both sides. So to maintain the compartmentation, they need to be having the fire resistant rating from both sides. And then you have a question, then when is a bidirectional test required for a fire door? When your assembly is not symmetrical, when it is having an asymmetrical construction, and it does not fulfill the criteria which we are going to see in the next slide, then your door needs to be tested from both direction. This is the most important thing. Even if the door is being tested from both direction, that you need to achieve the required rating like insulation and required like requirements in order to achieve your proper fire rating for according to the building code. Like moving to the next slide, there are some set of rules which has been given by EN 1634-1 as well as this Indian standard 16947 for the glazed doors. So if your door is not like symmetrical, then you need to like fulfill these requirements. Like mainly what I wanted to point is that there should be a test evidence. If you want to test them from one side, that there should be a test evidence that the hardware which is being used as part of the door is being tested from the other side. If you don't have such, if you don't have like reach to a level, or if you don't have any test evidence like related to these rules, then it is really required that this door has to be tested from both direction. Then moving on to the next topic, which is talking in further about the table 2 of 1634-1 as well as IS 16947 standard, where you can have a look. You have like different type of door being tested, and then what is the direction that the door need to be tested to achieve the required rating of insulation, integrity as well as radiation. For example, if you are a steel door manufacturer where you have a point number 3 of table 2 hinged metal leaf metal frame door which is not pivoted type, for this condition that the door has to open away from the furnace. Yes, then it will fulfill the other side with a limitation that it will achieve only integrity and radiation. It will not achieve insulation. So if you need to attain all the parameters for a metal door, then it needs to be tested from both direction. Then what you see in this table is that the one most important part missing in this table is that fully glazed door, which is the most like commonly tested nowadays in the market, as I told you. So the fully glazed door are not part of this table. So if the fully glazed door is not a symmetrical door and it is having any asymmetrical construction, then the door has to be tested from both sides to achieve all integrity, insulation as well as radiation. Then moving to the next slide, these are some of the clauses which we included from BS as well as UL test standard, how all other standards are focusing on this bidirectional testing. Like most of the standard, they wanted to check the symmetrical like feature or the construction of the doors they're done. If they are not having, if they don't achieve the symmetrical construction, then it needs to be tested from both sides, as you can see some of the classes from the standard. Then moving further, this is the Indian standard, which is also talking the same topic. If the door is not symmetrical, or if the door is having a requirement that it needs to be tested from one side only, so that in the practical it is only like resisting fire from one side, then they need to test only that particular side, and that information should be part of the test report. Otherwise, like it is hard to identify, and like mostly the fire door needs to be tested from both sides, so that they maintain the compartmentation throughout the requirement of the fire. Then moving further, what I would like to explain is that on the left side you have a timber door leaf with a metal frame, that you can have a look, that red part is getting out, which is the door leaf, which is getting like bending towards fire in the case where you have a timber door leaf and a metal door frame. In a drywall condition, like where you install your door in like in a drywall, where because like each and every standard is having like different type of construction how the door is needs to be installed, or as in practice. So what I'm trying to convey is that each and every supporting construction will have different behavior on the door, so it needs to be critically selected based on the requirement as in practice, and it is really hard to assess the weaker side. So most of the door need to be tested from both direction in order to attain the required fire rating. And the same condition of what it is being tested in a fire lab, that condition has to be like on the same way of the installation should be brought into the real time, so that there is no big deviation, or there is no big change in the behavior of the door, and this is the most important thing. Then moving further, you have like several kind of like construction, or several kind of standard configuration like given in various state standards. Like I would start from this rightmost side, where you have a door installed in an AAC block. Then on the next like image is a concrete block, is so where a door is being installed in a concrete block. So in this case, you have like different construction required different kind of supporting construction, and they needs to be tested as in practice. This is the most important thing, so that the behavior of the door will not be installed. Then you can have a look just below this timber door leaf and metal door frame. There is an image where you have like two different kind of like supporting construction that is being used in practice. So in this case, it should be always like one form of like supporting construction need to be used, because if you have different material getting involved in the same door, we cannot really assess how the test will go. So we should be very careful, like what is being used in a fire test, it should be brought into practice, or what is in practice should be brought into a for a fire testing, so that you fulfill the requirement and your fire door behaves same as it was tested. Then moving further, there are several exception, and there are several advantages if you test with EN 1634 standard, where you will test your door with an AAC block. It can be used for a concrete as well as flexible construction, which you can go further into like 1634-1 like direct field of application. Then like moving further, like what are the advantages of testing a fire door? And like there will be a lot of like doubt from the manufacturer. I've tested to this construction, can I get my door being installed in this construction, or can I change the hardware, can I change my lock set? This is not available, and like this hardware is not available. So for this part itself, the standard has given a clear picture, which is called the field of direct application, where the field of like direct application results defines allowable changes to the specimen following a successful fire test. So these variation can be automatically applied without the need for the sponsor to seek additional evaluation, calculation, or approval. So you have like set of things what you can modify, which is like timber construction can be modified, and like metal construction, glaze construction. So this part of the detail will fall into a classification report or a test report based on the test standard. And then like moving further, which Mr. Nauman like conveyed, if there is any door which is being tested for 30 minutes and you have an extra overrun time, which is called category B. For example, if you are testing a door, like fire door for 30 minutes, then you have achieved like more than 30 minutes, which is like more than the requirement, then you have an advantage that you can increase the size of the door the height of the door by 15%, then the width can be increased by 15, then this total area should not exceed 20%. So these are the category B requirement, where you can increase the size. If you don't achieve such requirement, it is really same as the classification time, then you have an exception that you can reduce the door size to a smaller size based on some other different project requirements. So these all the details will be part of the test report and as well as the classification report. Then moving further to the next slide, this part is really talking about the Indian standard, which is IS 17518, which is also giving you more advantages by testing, which is related to the timber construction, metal construction, how it can be modified. The most important thing what I want to convey is that whatever is being tested is to be used. And if you have, for example, if you have a door frame being installed for a density of 650 kg per meter cube, but you want to increase your density by going for a different wood species, then it can be increased, but it cannot be reduced from what was tested. So this is the most important thing. So the modification can be increased and just adding more value to that, but not by reducing any kind of hardware or components being used during a test. Then moving to the next slide, I'm going to explain that how a fire door is being classified based on EN 1634, because EN 1634 standard is directly referring to a classification standard, which is EN 13501-2. Under this, you have, as I told you earlier, there is classified as EI to 120, and any steel or the glazed door is being classified as EW120, which is really meaning W means radiation, then E means integrity, then I2 means insulation, then this 120 is the classification period or the fire rating what the door has achieved. Then further you have various stuff of classification, how the doors are being classified, and as you see in this table. So these details will only fall under a separate test report, which is called a classification report. After you do a test and you get a test report, based on your test report, a classification report has been prepared so that it clearly defines what your door has achieved. Then moving further, this is the Indian standard specification, which is classifying the door as per IS 3614, which is called specification standard. So this Indian door is giving a set of criteria what the manufacturer need to label them like FD 120, which is just telling you FD it's a designation for a fire rated door that fulfills only integrity up to the classification time, and this 120 is the classification period up to what it has achieved. But it is clearly showing separately that with 30-minute insulation, which is showing it has achieved only the minimum requirement of 30 minutes insulation. So this keeps varying based on the insulation rating it has achieved, but you have achieved integrity up to a minute of 120 minutes. And here and further on the right side, you have a table how a fire door is being classified as per IS 3614, which is FD30, FD60, FD90 with and without insulation based on the door type, insulated door and uninsulated door. And further, you have a quick look how the test results are being described in a test report for an IS 16947 standard. So this is how Indian door tells you how it can be classified. Further, I will pass it to Mr. Nauman so that he will start his topic about certification. Just a minute.
Thank you so much, Subra, for the insightful information. It's really clear that how each standard differs from each other. I'll not take much time. Most probably it will be like a next 10 minutes. We'll wind up with our presentation. Just need a little bit of patience from everyone. I'll share my screen. 1 minute here. So the next topic is importance of having a third-party certification for fire doors. Of course, it's a regulatory requirement, as I just highlighted in my presentation earlier, that as per the NBC as well as UAE Fire and Life Safety Corps and all of that, third-party certification is important, and without that, you cannot access to various markets. And the purpose of having a third-party certification is it will help you to open different markets, right? Right from sitting in India or in UAE or any part of the world, you can access to various markets. And that's one of the major, or I would say the main benefit of having a third party certification. Okay, and there are various other benefits where where it enhances the overall efficiencies through improved processes, act as a watchdog for continuous product compliance, and also ensures traceability of manufactured products, maintaining a level playing field for all the players in the market. And one of the main aspect of third-party certification is when it's conducted by an accredited certification body, it provides an additional level of assurance. That's very, very important, that which certification body you choose for your fire doors. Choosing a reputed one like ESL will ensure product performance. Moving on, how to get your product certified. I have answered few of the question and answer, and I could see some of the people have asked how the overall process works. In order to obtain the product certification, I'll go through a quick slides and I will be explaining what all it's necessary. First thing is about the product requirements, and then fulfilling the requirements of certification process. So product requirements is nothing but knowing about which market you wanted to access to. Like some of the manufacturers in the past have reached out to me saying that I need to access 3 markets. For example, I need to be in UAE as well as I will be part of Saudi market as well, and also I will be part of India market. So we will see which are the standards that are relevant to this market, and accordingly we guide the manufacturer to go with so and so standard. Some of the manufacturers now are keen to know what's happening in India, and then with this webinar, I'm sure they are very much clear what are the standards which are applicable in India, and how it's interpreted with other international standards. So certification process, I'll quickly explain since we are short of time. First, you need to fill up the application form. So application form will have all the informations which are required for us. Like for example, who is the applicant who would like to have the certification for their door, and for example, who will be the product manufacturer, and where exactly the door is manufactured. So all this information needs to be highlighted in the application form, along with the type of door you would like to test and certified. Along with that, mention which standard you wanted to certify, and also what will be the specific rating you are looking for. And then highlight also what are the market you would like to access. So once we have the application form filled, when we have all this information, then it's easy for us to prepare a quotation. And if if the information is not clear, and if we need more information, then we'll again get in touch with the client to make sure the application form is filled properly, or we'll have a technical meeting where we can finalize the scope and also understand how we can take things further. So once the project is kicked off, once the payment and all the stuffs are done, we move on to having a project kickoff. It will be usually done by our sales team, explaining in detail. Putting an email to the client stating that the project have been officially kicked off, and so person from the testing team as well as the certification team will be involved in this project. So once the project kickoff is done, usually we will have a project kickoff meeting with the client in order to understand the roadmap, how quickly they want the product to be tested and certified. And for that, the first step moving forward with the certification is to conduct the product sampling. So product sampling is nothing but witnessing the complete production process of the fire door in a manufacturing location. Let's say you wanted to test 2 doors, one is 60 and 90 minutes, and we will be visiting your factory, and we will be witnessing each and every process of the production right from the start to till the end. And once the sampling process is completed, we will mark the sample, and the same sample will go for the testing purposes. So of course the testing representative will get in touch with you to know further information on supporting construction and the opening required, so that they can build the frame on the lab. So once those informations are clear, in between once the informations are clear to our testing team, then they will work on the frame, and then they will provide you with the installation and test date for the fire testing. So during the period of sampling and testing, we will be in coordination with the manufacturer to schedule the factory audit. So during the factory audit, we will be witnessing how the production control, quality control, and what sort of quality system is managed within the factory. And if the requirements fulfill our requirements, then we will proceed further. So in case if the fire test also was successful, and also the factory audit was also successful, then we move on to issuing the certification once the evaluation process is completed. So then we will be issuing the certificate, which will be valid for 3 years, and this is how the certificate will look like. And once the certification process completed, the fire door manufacturer is eligible to obtain labels from us. So there are few things which I like to add on about the labeling of fire doors. So labeling can be, the labels can be obtained once the certification process is successfully completed, and once the client put a request for the labels, a draft label will be shared with the client prior to printing. So how the label will look like, the information is here on the screen. So you will have information about the product, and also who is the manufacturer, certificate number, standard, fire rating, and also a unique serial number. So each label will have its own unique serial number. Okay, and there are few conditions which are very essential for traceability purposes. It's a manufacturer's duty or a responsibility to ensure that the labels are applied in the factory alone, not on site. I have seen in my experience, there's a lot of manufacturers hold the fire labels just because the client have not fully paid them for their services, for their product. So what they do is that they hold the labels until and unless they receive the whole payment. So that's not a right practice. It's a completely a big non-conformity from a certification body. So always make sure the doors are labeled in the factory. In case if you feel that the labels will be damaged during the installation or something, it would be better if they put a masking tape on the label, so that the labels will be protected, and the masking tape can be removed once the doors are installed and the project is about to start. And a very important aspect is to making a proper label log sheet. It is very much important for the fire door manufacturer to make sure the label records are clearly maintained in the factory, and record of each number of label utilized for each project has to be highlighted. For example, if there are like 200 labels utilized between in a matter of 1 year, for example, for let's say the manufacturer has supplied for 3 different projects. So we expect a label log sheet should be clearly maintained along with the dose schedule, so that a proper traceability audit can be carried out by our auditors during the supervision. Okay, and also it's important that all the physical labels are available in the factory during the supervision, so that a proper backtrack traceability can be done by our auditor. Okay, so apart from this, I would like to add important aspect on one thing which was asked by one of the colleague in the Q&A. Can I accept the door if it was tested to some different standard, and the door what we receive is different? Of course, it depends on the project requirement. If the project stated a specific standard, then the door assembly shall be with the same standard. And with having a fire rated label, you will have a proper identification whether which standard it was tested to. Okay, thank you so much. I think I end my presentation here. So
Thank you.
I would like,
Thank you, Roman.
yeah, thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much. We are almost now 2 hours on this webinar, which is normally is for 1 hour.
Yeah,
But I'm happy that we have, a large majority of them, specifically the key people who are in the BIS and the NBC are still listening. I'm happy some of the officers continue to listen. We should have broken into two part one, part two. But however, the great job done by Norman and Subramaniam to impart the best possible knowledge. And we will continue in the second series with more detail. I think Subramaniam has spoken so well, and his information so informative for India. India is changing. India is the most, the growing country. There's a lot of infrastructure coming up. So I would like to invite, Mr. T.R. Krishnan, who is the author of, the NBC Part 4. He's been growing around the world. Today is in London. So he's been reading various standards across the country. I know him as he's a good personal friend. When I visited his house, his entire room is full of libraries of various standards and codes. And I want to ask him to say a few words. How do you think these kind of webinars help us, especially for India? Over to you, Mr. T.R. Krishnas. Welcome, and good afternoon for you from London.
Thank you, Mr. Dominic.
Can you
Am
be
I
louder,
audible?
sir?
Am I audible?
Yeah, a little bit more louder.
Uh,
Yes, sir.
Thank you. It was really a very, very nice presentation which I attended, because I have not attended such a detailed presentation on fire doors, at least. The passive system, there are so many, but fire doors independently, there was no other webinar which I attended so far. Both the speakers were really superb. Only thing is they have to rush through. So as you yourself suggested, that the second session will be more useful, because right now we are also under the process of revision of some of the codes by relating to fire doors. So this will be very, very useful for us if we extend it to a second section within the next 15 days to a month, so that we can go ahead with the coding in BIS. But only one thing which I wanted to ask, one question I want to ask from my side to the presenters, the labeling of fire doors, because I have seen so many high-rise buildings, so many other areas where the fire doors are there at every level, but not a single door carries any labeling, and we don't even know who manufactured it. It's like that. So is it compulsory?
Yeah, Mr. Krishnan, thank you so much for being part of the webinar and asking such a crucial question. Basically, the fire door manufacturer, once the product is certified, they are eligible to procure labels from their certification body. Okay, and the certification body have their own way of creating an artwork of labels. Okay, that will usually have a label of a certification body, as well as a name of the manufacturer. Like, for example, what you see here, the manufacturer name defines that this particular company has obtained certification for this particular standard from so and so certification body. And the best part of having ESL label is that there is a QR code. If you scan, it will directly show you on a web page where you can access the certificate of so and so manufacturer. That will clearly inform the person who is witnessing the door on site that this door are genuine and these doors are supplied by so and so manufacturer, is obtained after getting into testing, certification, and also having a supervision audit carried out every year for this manufacturer. So it means to say that they are under a certification program with a so and so certification body. Okay, so labels can obtain only when the certification is done for the project. I mean, certification is done by the manufacturer for the door supplied. If the product is only tested, they cannot obtain the physical labels.
True, very true. That's why I'm saying now, because I have seen so many, more than 300 audits I have done. And not a single door I have seen with manufacturer's name or when it was tested, where it was tested and all. And even the requirements, when I show them, they are unable to answer. They say, no, our consultant is certified. Like, that is the reply that we will get.
Yeah,
so we have to make it compulsory. We have to make it compulsory now in our standards.
Exactly, because that's why I highlighted about the NBC in my presentation earlier, where they are clearly saying
I saw
in
that.
the exactly, yeah.
4.1 F, I saw that. That's why I'm asking the question.
Exactly. So there is, and this actually it was a new information for me as well. When I started preparing for the presentation, that's when we got to know. Me as a certification specialist, it clearly highlights here that the certificate, as well as they are talking about the labels. So which means the all fire door manufacturers should obtain certification services.
Yeah. Then one more small question.
Yeah.
Suppose a single leaf hinged door is already tested and approved and labeled.
Yeah.
somebody is arguing that if I put double doors using the same doors, it doesn't require any testing.
See, each
Which we don't agree. Which we
configuration
don't
needs to
agree.
be.
Which we don't
Yeah,
agree.
okay. I think you are on the right side, Mr. Krishnan. I think each different configuration needs to be tested and certified. And of course, single, double, if you could see, the double door do have a flush bolt, whereas single door doesn't have a flush bolt.
Yeah.
So that itself makes a different configuration. So that's why, exactly. So you need to have a separate test done for each type of door.
Anyway, thank you, sir. And in fact, attending the seminar is quite useful for me. So
thank you so much, sir. And if required, sir, we love to, me and Subramaniam would love to have a conversation separately and have further discussion on this subject to help you make a proper fire code regulation for the country India.
I have 78 queries, which I don't want to
sure.
time up. We'll have discuss separately.
No problem,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
We are
I will
always available.
share your mail ID so that you can be in touch with him.
Please.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for joining from London. Mr. Shijo, who was the first person to raise the hand, I thought let me allow you to speak. Shijo, if it is related to today's topic, I'll welcome the question. Shijo, are you there? Okay, I will move on to the questions that is there. Most of those questions have been answered. Suresh Nair was asking, can the location of vision panel be changed? So, Subramaniam, you want to answer that?
Yes, Dominic. So the location of the vision panel cannot be modified, but it can be increased at some extent. That if the total area of the door of that vision panel is as required in the test standard only. So this is something in detail that they cannot modify the location of the vision panel. They need to do a retest if they need to modify the location of the vision panel for sure.
Yeah, the Madhu is asking, why do statutory bodies deviate or eliminate all the basic requirement for NOC prior to public reach? I don't know who's going to
I
answer
really
this.
don't understand really what they're trying to attain. So it's bit
The
not
question
clear.
is not
Maybe
very clear.
it's not really
Yeah,
clear.
so I'll pass on the. Abba Saib is also an insurance auditor. UAE code, he was asking why REI aspects are not mentioned with 60, 90 minutes fire rating if they are so stringent and clear about overall rating aspect.
But the problem is the people are getting their doors or whatever the product they're getting it tested. They are only getting the test report. Test report will not mention any of the classification designation like R, E, and I. It should be always part of the classification like test report as per the requirement from the test standard. So if they will see such kind of designations only in a classification report and not in a test report. Test report is just giving the number of minutes. It is just telling the numbers, not the designation for a fire door. So this is the problem that they are facing. That is why it is not part of the test report.
And I'd just like to add on one thing here, Dominic. The UAE Fire and Life Safety Code is in process of getting updated, and I believe and I hope this information will be added in the upcoming release of, or I would say, upcoming revision of the code.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Abbas Sahib, sir. How are you after a long time? So if you need any support from me, I can give the contact details of Norman. You can be in touch with him. So Manish Khandelwal is asking any fire door checklist followed by the site team or quality department before installation. So he's basically asking, is the checklist is followed by the installation team?
But yeah, just to answer this question, because like usually the door should be installed as mentioned in the test report, which is the most important thing, because what they make in the drawing is not brought to the test, and we try to mention clearly how a door is being installed into a test report. So they should be like very clear how the door should be installed by installer. Then further, this door is being like inspected by any approved like certified body, so that they are meeting with the requirement of the test report. So this is how it should be done.
Yeah. Now, Krishnaraj, I think is an end user is asking who's the quality fire door manufacturer in India, can you email me? So I think you can do the screenshot of this, Norman. If anyone
Yeah.
has taken the
Yeah.
ESL certification, the fire door, probably you can forward it to them. Manish Kandalwal again is asking, as per IS 3614, 2021 revised fire norms and BS certified for 30 minutes of installation minimum. Is it correct in
Yeah,
Pan India?
because basically this IS 3614 is a standard. It is a specification standard which is telling that like the fire door should have a minimum requirement of insulation for 30 minutes, which is right. As well as Mr. Nauman showed you in this national building code, it has a minimum requirement for some particular like area. It should have minimum 20-minute insulation, which is better to follow the code. And this 30 minutes is more than the requirement, so it is more clear. It should have minimum 30 minutes insulation requirement.
Just to add on here, Dominic, is that I remember IBC requires 30 minutes of insulation, and with regards to IS 3614, it's good that Subrav already informed in his presentation about this particular point. So that answered the question.
Rajan is saying, how TPA agencies for inspection of fire door is selected? Please share the list of TPAs in India. I may not be, I don't know whether Subramaniam, hope if you can answer on this question.
How the TPA agencies for inspection of fire doors selected? But this is pretty tricky question. Even I don't have answer for that. Maybe further we can add it later.
Okay, okay. Okay, so let's move on to Ravi Gonde. Or in electrical substation equipments have certain life cycle we need to replace. In an electrical substation equipments have certain life cycle we need to replace. I don't know the question. Is it a question or is it an answer to someone is giving? Panaya is asking, if I go to the fire test, what is the major mistake and problems I will face? So his question is, you know, if he comes for the test, what are the mistakes and problem I'll face? Only when you give the
Uh,
door for test, you will know.
Uh,
Okay.
Actually, one thing I can add on is that once once they install their own fire doors, they can see how it performs, because every manufacturers do have their own engineering, own method of doing engineering for fire doors. So they will get to know the exact rating of the fire door which they have developed, so that they will learn from their mistake and come back with a proper method, or I would say reaching to the exact rating what they're looking for. So that can be possible. So I just to answer that question, I have just added this.
Ravi Gonde again is asking, the any old fire door which is there in the building can
Uh-huh.
be tested or inspected and given a certificate.
But yeah, but like such kind of like old buildings which has fire doors, they need to have a proper maintenance. If they are not really suitable, then they can produce a similar door and they can try testing it. But still, it is better to get that door like tested than getting it replaced is the best option than removing such door and bringing it for testing.
Okay, thank
Just
you.
to add on, Dominic here,
Yeah.
there are so many, manufacturers. Since we are into certification, we do get a lot of requests for certification service for a door which was tested, let's say 5 or 10 years back, and we always like to see if there was a sampling carried out by a third party during during the test was carried out. So basically, sampling is carried out prior to testing, which means it's called it as a pre-test sampling. So if that information is there in the test report, and along with that, if a client does have a sampling evidences, then it's possible to go ahead with the certification. If not, it cannot be converted into a certification. So that test report, cannot be converted into test certificate, I'm saying.
Smita has shared some information about Maharashtra fire, something that the link is there. Probably, someone from ESL can just click and see what is that. Smita
Yeah.
is asking,
Um,
what do when installation need a gap Oh, there's one more, another
Yeah,
important
yeah.
question. Is there
Mm-hmm.
any reason for gap size
Yeah.
from
uh,
6 mm to 25 mm integrity
Yes,
test?
yes, because basically a fire door will have a standard gap between the door frame and this door leaf of 3 to 4 mm, which is in practice. So that and you have a 6 mm gap or maybe 8 mm gap at the sill. So this is why you have some gap requirement. If it will exceed that gap requirement, and if it is more than 25 mm, like anywhere you can apply the gap gauge so that it fails. So it has to maintain that gap as well. Otherwise, the fire integrity is gone. So that is why it's like such things are taken into account to assess the integrity.
Okay, Smita Palke is asking, I think I would request Norman to probably directly interact with her. She has, a lot of question on the testing. So Smita, they will get back to you because your questions are quite long. I think they will be interested to talk to you directly one to one. So another one, based on your experience, can you please arrange 90 minutes fire door testing as per different standard ULBS in the sequence on based on these 10 cases? Yes, of course. We do not have your detail. If you can send a personal, we have shared Nauman and Subramanian's email ID. You may write to them directly because it says anonymous attendees. So we don't have the name for this. I would request you to please write to them directly and get the detail. Is there any specific color code which should be uniform throughout in India? Muralidhara is asking.
So this is something they have to follow the code. There is no like such requirement, but I'm not really sure if there is any like requirement in the code from this Indian this national building code. So it is all with this regional code requirement.
Okay. So, Venugopal, thanks both gentlemen providing valuable information. And Manish Kanaval is given the contact number to contact. Sandeep, can I have a copy of the PPT? We will share only if there is requirement exist. Um, Apurva, partially insulated door. This concept is most acceptable in India, as in IS. Is it mentioned? What is your opinion?
Partially insulated door is nothing but a door with a vision panel is considered. Maybe a steel door with a vision panel is mostly considered as a partially like insulated door. But the concept, let me read. But the concept is most acceptable in India. This depends on like where the door is being installed. It is not that everywhere you can install such kind of partially insulated door. If there is any like material which can ignite next to that, for example, it is a warehouse, then based on the code requirement they will not allow that door to be installed everywhere. It depends like where it is going to be installed, so it keeps varying like place to place.
Okay. So, another question from Mukesh Gola Diok. They are the consultant. They do inspections. Mukesh Gola will get back to you since you are shared the email ID. Smita again is asking lead time waiting. IRP, IPR, ITI, and IIT Rookie for FD 6 months, which cost around 2.5 lakh INR. What is the possibility to test with you? I think, Smita, they will get back to you. You found to be interesting for on this subject. I will request again Norman to make a note of her name and get back to Smita on this. What about the fire door from other manufacturer? In a hospital, what is the life of the door? What is the life of the fire door? Jerome was the Taj hotel experienced person. Jerome is asking, what is the life of the door?
I think it depends on the manufacturer, the kind of warranty they give. But at the end of the day, it depends on occupancy and the kind of usage the fire doors goes through. So, I mean, even if since he's from a hotel industry, he can easily judge if the door is old and if it is not latching properly. It again goes back to inspection as well. Who is inspecting their hotels? So, if they give a report stating I mean, I'm talking about the periodic inspection. If they give a report stating that the door is still intact, is still functioning, that means this door can be utilized. So the moment I mean, everyone can easily see if the doors are already started degrading, it's time to replace. So there is no exact warranty. It all depends on the number, or I would say number of cycling the door goes through in the project site.
Yeah, why stability is omitted from IS 3614, whereas NBC is still requesting. That is from Ashim from
Yeah,
Kolkata.
I will answer this question. Like, because there is no stability requirement for a fire door, because it is basically for the partition walls, or maybe the load bearing walls is really requiring the stability requirement. For a fire door, there is only integrity requirement. So this is something not correct. Maybe he just misunderstood things.
Okay. Ashim, if you need further, I'll be happy to assist you. You are my mail ID. Kalyan Reddy is asking, do we need to provide 3 mm fire escape door with 3 mm width for each flight of staircase as per fire norms?
So, so regarding this question, I think he's really trying to mean like what is the gap that needs to be maintained between the like for each kind of, or maybe for each type of door. This is something like their design specific, that they can do like number of like tests, and they have to come up to a conclusion what they really want. There is no such code requirement that you have to maintain such gap between the door and this door frame. So this is like design specific.
Okay. So, Shakil is asking, what is the core material for insulated doors?
He's really asking about uninsulated doors, I guess. For
Oh, sorry.
uninsulated doors, if they want some kind of insulation rating to some extent, then it is up to them to decide, because there are several materials available in the market. We cannot specify as a testing laboratory. We cannot like help them in the part of design, so we should not get involved. So this is something he has to decide himself or make a try.
Okay. Suresh Nair is asking, Norman, could I ask you how to make accountability a specification for compliance and implementation, please? So Suresh Nair sells a lot of fire doors, so he's asking
Yes,
this question.
Suresh Nair is one of my close friend. Of course, Mr. Suresh, I'll get back to you with all the questions what you have asked during the presentation. So, of course, we'll definitely set up a meeting along with you and your team and answer all your queries.
Vaidya sir, good evening. I think you're answering many questions to many people in this. Abbas Sahib is asking, is there any installed or integrity test at the site during operation?
Uh, is there an installed door integrity test at site? No, sir, there is no such things. For example, they are doing some kind of setup or some kind of like they're following some drawing during the this like fire test. That same configuration should be brought into the real time, and they should install the same way. So this is the only possible thing they can do. There is no like site kind of test for a fire door. There is only inspection being involved if they are like meeting the requirements of the drawing or the test report or not. That's it.
If the product is certified, Mr. Dominic, if the product is certified and if the listing is issued, the listing will have all the information about the configuration of the door. And based on that, the inspection can be carried out on site. So that's the only aspect of verifying the fire door. Of course, we cannot check the integrity on site.
Thank you, Norman, for clarifying that. Ashim is asking again, what is the steel sheet thickness required for fire door? Is there any standard for it?
As I told you, like we cannot like suggest or do any consultation for any client to use what is the requirement they need to use to achieve a classification. So it is all they have to go and try and see how the test like behaves. That is why we are testing each and every door. Otherwise, there is no need for any door to be tested if they will have such requirements. So this is something they have to do like an R&D test with us, so that they will understand what is the requirement for them to achieve such rating.
Okay, the question from Apurva, the last two questions. How can we make frame insulated during installation? Cement or slurry will not help us.
This
She must be end user from the
yeah,
construction.
yeah. How can we make the frame insulated? Mm, Making the frame insulated is nothing but they should not go for an hollow metal door. They should go for something which is having some kind of insulation. That's it. So it is also part of the design part. So we cannot like much discuss about like such topics.
So maybe Apurva, being an end user, I think we can provide a little more detail, when in the course of in the correspondence on the email. So Apurva's mail ID is important. You can probably
Sure, sure,
someone can connect with her.
sure, sure.
And the
Thank you.
last question, the role of architect and structural consult regarding certification. He says, he's asking how important is the architect plays a role or a
Uh,
structural engineer play a role in
I think
verification
it
or
goes
audit.
back to the specifier, and of course, if certification, like what I understood from Mr. Krishnan, is that the majority of manufacturers are who supplies the doors to the project are not having certification services. I think if certification becomes mandated, then things will be very clear, so that each door that was supplied in projects will be in line with the requirement of what was tested. So I think it doesn't go back to the architects or somebody, but it goes back to the specifier, where specification of the regulation must be changed, where it has to say that both testing and certification are mandated for fire doors. So regardless of which region they are from within India.
So I'm asked Abbas Sahib to talk to, allowed you to talk. Abbas Sahib is a very important personality in India who does a lot of audit and for insurance. So Abbas Sahib, you have any question other than what you asked on the question
Yes, yes,
Q&A
Dominic,
box?
thank you. Yes, Dominic, thank you so much. I think both those speakers were excellent. Last and most important question. Yes, we will install the door as assembly tested. During maintenance, I think wear and tear will happen. Suppose all those wear and tear components are not available in the market as tested. So what is the way out for, because ultimately user needs to get it rectified. Can speakers throw some light on this? Because I have seen some of the comments in some of the groups that they're talking separately on each component. Okay, hinge should be fireproof, closure should be fireproof, sealant should be fireproof. I think that's not the correct way. So on this aspect, suppose replacement has to be done, and one, it has to be done as it is, and second thing, if not available, what should one should do as
Yeah.
ultimate end user?
Okay, it's a very good question. I will just quickly answer this. It depends on first and foremost, if you wanted to replace the door, what was supplied to a project, and then you are changing the hardware or any other component. Of course, the complete door, functioning will be different, and it would be better that the manufacturer go for a retest of a complete door assembly, and then that particular assembly can be tested. And also it again goes back to which standard they have tested to. So I mean, different standard have got different interpretation. When it comes to UL listed hardware can be replaced, but I'm not sure the kind of problem what you're facing. But I would suggest, let's discuss this offline, so that we can work on case to case basis what action can be taken.
Sure.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Yeah,
Thank you,
Thank
thank you
you.
Dominic.
so
Thank
much.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Abba Sahib. I'll take the last question. Either Shijo, because you are the first person to raise hand, if you're still there, you can take the mic. You can speak, Shijo, or I'll ask Nikhil to speak. Nikhil, if you have any question, you can ask.
No, sir,
Okay.
no.
Yeah, Nikhil, go ahead. Okay. There is no questions. So exactly 2.5 hours, probably one of the longest webinar that we had. My office, back in office in Bangalore, I think they must be waiting. I would like to thank Lakshmi, Navya, Arya, who've been supporting from back end, and sharing Norman's and Subramaniam's and Mrinal's contact number about ESL. They've been sharing. We would love to hear from you more on those email ID. If you have any further question, please do write to them. And I want to thank ESL. ESL has become one of the prominent testing laboratory in the entire Middle East, and now you are very active in India. I'm sure as India is one of the fastest growing industry infrastructure wise, you will play a very more important role in India. I'm looking forward for ESL to set up a lab. That's a dream that I have. That's how I'm associated with you. I'm sure you will give your feedback to David Campbell. And also, if you see the participant, we had almost 650 registrations. Many of them, regretted because of various reasons they couldn't. But the interest on this passive product and especially on the testing is growing in India. The kind of fire that is happening. So everybody woke up. In fact, our Delhi fire chief, Mrinal, was asking, is he joining? Because, Atul Garg is very busy in now auditing and he's been asked to check all the hospitals, how safe they are. And he's in busy and he's also very interested to see that, proper testing is happening. So overall, it's very encouraging to see such good response, questions coming, people even after 2.5 hours of webinar still love to hear from. So we will come back again very soon with a different topic and probably we'll carry forward as a second series. I wanted to thank both Mrinal for initiating this webinar and Nauman, a good friend, and Subramani. Both are from South India, and I know all of you are in India. I'm sure in a way you will contribute a lot to this country, which is require your experience, your expertise, and not limited to the Middle East. I'm sure you will also love to make India is also at par with any international market that yes, we do care and our structures are safe and it has been tested. So I look forward to hear you again in the next series. Thank you very much. You have a wonderful time. And also I want to thank all the participants who came on time and having patience to wait till another 2.5 hours and listening to us. We will come back to you again, and this subject going to be more interesting. I want to thank BAS, National Building Code, and other members also who joined. Final comment from Subramaniam, Rinal, and Nauman. Over to you.
Thank you, Dominic. It was a really, encouraging to see such a good participation and wonderful questions. Really, really meaningful, queries coming in from different people regarding the code standards, testing, certification, how they happen. But my I will not take much time, but fire safety is a collective effort. So all of us have a role to play in that, and what we have seen being in UAE ESL, what we have seen is the kind of the concentration on fire safety which UAE government has taken. We really want uh, to replicate that and to impart that our learnings from here to India and rest of the region, and want to ensure that people take advantage of this information that we have and replicate it there. And as you rightly said, yes, we would definitely we look at India as a very very good a market, not from the business point of view, but from the point of view that it's growing, and with the growth, we also need to focus on safe growth. So that's our motto, and that's what we that's a message we would like the Indian audience especially to take from this webinar. And we are there to support them in any which way, whether it's certification, testing, market access to Middle East and other regions. We will definitely help them in achieving that. And in my next visit to India, I would definitely would love to meet some of the gentlemen if it is possible.
Okay, thank you. Norman, final comment from you.
Yeah. Thank you so much for, first of all, arranging in such a short time, Mr. Dominic, and it was really fruitful, and it was not something, the numbers which I have expected, and the number of question shows that how serious India is looking after changing things, especially on fire safety systems. So it will really, I mean, for me, it's like a knowledge kind of stuff that I have got it from today, that really it's a market which we need to look for. look forward to. And people talks about Saudi Arabia. Yes, of course, Saudi Arabia is one of the market, but it looks like India is the right market where now we need to focus on fire safety systems, and of course, with serious of fire happening, and it looks like we need to indulge with all the manufacturers and make sure that we guide them as what standards, codes, and all that are put in place. So we are ready to support India market. Thank you, Dominic. Yeah.
Beautiful words. Thank you. It's quite encouraging. Yes, India is what the future is, and structures which is coming up. Every end user would like to know what are the standards and codes.
Yeah.
I'm sure that we will connect with them soon. Over to Subramaniam for closing remarks.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Dominic, and this ESL management for giving me opportunity to in depth about the fire doors. So I'm really like excited that many people are really like they're really interested and to know much things about the code requirement and how they can improve safety in their place. So it's a really interesting session, and we just need more time to convey things. And this was really short, and we have to run fast. But
I think we need to run a part two of this.
yeah,
Yes, yes,
there
of
is
course.
yeah. So there is a lot of topics to be conveyed, and if they are really aware of such things from testing, then they know how they need to design their door and everything. But it is not go because we are not going to help them how to design the door, but at least they know how the fire doors are, and then what are the requirement they need to meet to fulfill that they have top-notch safety in India. So and everywhere. That's it. That is how I need to conclude. I'm really happy and excited that there is a lot of audience who are really interested, and they are getting to know the knowledge from us about like various aspects of this fire testing. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrinal. Thank you, Naman. Thank you, Subramaniam. And we'll come back soon. And this will work out what topic that we're going to cover. As Subramaniam said, yes, there is, we rushed, but it's so in depth. I think it's very important to impart this knowledge to fire officers, regulatory bodies, and end user, that what they should look from the fire door. I think we'll come back again soon. Have a wonderful weekend, a safe weekend, and see you back again. Thank you so
Sure.
much.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much, Dominic.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank
And
you.
Have
the
a
entire
wonderful
team.
weekend,
Thank you.
everybody.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank
Yeah.
you.